Hi, welcome to Fatmata Speaks. And today I will talk about the beauties in being lost. And who am I? Well, I used to not love life, but now I do. And I would like to tell you guys about my observations about how I felt while being lost. Maybe you can pick out something from it and implement it in your own life. Let's go. Being lost has actually many faces, and at times it's really hard to figure out if that is just a normal thing or if that's just someone actually struggling. The one thing about being lost is, even though it has many faces, the person who's experiencing it knows it, and our intuition helps us actually pin down what's going on the inside. Even though maybe on the outside there's like no indicator of whatsoever that is going on. Most of the time you don't see it on the outside, unless if you're acquainted with those symptoms and those signs. Otherwise, it will just fly over your head, to be honest. Being lost is like, to like paint a picture for you guys, is when you're lost, right? You can imagine like being actually lost, like maybe you're in a foreign country, or maybe even in your own country, in your own city, and you're going somewhere you've never been before, and you just like, you can't find your way. And how you react to that situation, in most cases, it also reflects how you act when it happens on a psychological level. For example, some people will go straight to someone and ask them for the way, ask for directions, and be done with it, and then get to their goal and be done. So those type of people are the type of people, they notice something and they go for it. They go like, okay, this needs to be fixed, let's do it, bam, 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 they acknowledge it and move on. And then there are others who are like, oh no, I'm lost. And most of the time people are like, when you lost, go back to the starting point and then move forward. On a physical level, it works, okay? But on the psychological level, you don't want to go back to the status quo, because the status quo, the moment you step off it, it's not working anymore. It's just doesn't work. You can force yourself, obviously. And when you do that, it's going to be more painful. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be more painful. You're going to experience things, feel things, and then some people might end up turning it to substances to help them cope with it, because they're trying to go back to something that doesn't exist anymore. And that in itself is just hard, and it's sad and terrifying, downright terrifying. But yeah, there are people like that. You try to go back to the starting point, it's just the starting point is not there anymore. And then there are other people that acknowledge that something is wrong, and they don't go to the status quo, to be honest. They avoid it completely. For example, if someone realizes that they're misusing alcohol, for example, they might pull back from alcohol completely, which on the surface level, it makes sense. But then they will have phases where they will be like drinking again, and then there will have phases where they will pull back again. So it's like, it will be kind of like on and off kind of thing. And it's just basically they're just relapsing, and every time they relapse, it increases their sense of shame, self-hatred, and sometimes self-harm. And every single time you have to deal with it, that can get to be a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it can get to be a lot, because it just keeps piling up. And most people tend to be really hard on themselves. That's really a very ugly feeling, I'm not gonna lie. It's really an ugly feeling, and you have to, after you relapse, you try to stop it, and then you manage to stop it, and then you have to deal with that feeling of shame for a long while, and then that sometimes drives you back into it, because the stresses are still there. And it can also affect other areas in you, with time you realize that you're just losing sense of control. Well, the little sense of control that we actually have. And some people literally have mental breakdowns. In my case, I used to have something, I think it was either anxiety attack or panic attack. I think it was anxiety attack, but I would feel like the air is like too much for me, and I feel like it's literally harming me to just breathe. Like it was hurting me to breathe. And whenever I have that, it was like an indicator of me being completely overwhelmed. And it can happen when I'm just like sitting and doing absolutely nothing. That's just how terrifying it can be to like not actually trying to understand and fix things. Some people don't accept that this feeling of being lost, so they just ignore it. And then whenever it comes up, they just distract themselves and then push in a different direction. And they keep doing that. Some people do that for the rest of their life. And I don't want to say it works, because it doesn't work. Because when you, maybe on the surface level, it looks like it's working. But when you look closer, you realize there are lots of cracks in between. And it's actually very stressful to ignore something that you know deep down that is true. Because in cases like this, you realize like some people tend to blame others, like, no, this happened because that person did this. And it's never like, they're not really self-conscious enough to be able to trace certain aspects of their life back to themselves. It's always like, this happened because of that person, that happened because this happened. And they're not aware that their reaction to things is an indicator of what is going on the inside. Or sometimes people just accept it, like, oh, maybe this is just life, and yeah, I'll just get over it, and then something else better will come along, and then stuff like that. It's actually very tricky, to be honest. And then there are others who will be like, okay, I don't know the way, that's fine, I'll just walk around and see what's here, and then who knows, you just go with it. And that type of mindset on the psychological level is powerful, because one, you get to see new things, you get to explore and figure out what, you just get to explore new things and notice that, and that you can add on to yourself. And I don't know, have you ever been lost and then you just looked around and figured, oh, there is this in the city, I never knew that, and I've been living here for like ages, and now you know it, and then you can go back to it and visit it, right? It's the same on the psychological level. If you look around and try to understand what's going on, you get to notice new things about yourself, and it's not always negative. No, sometimes it's actually good, and you surprise yourself. You surprise yourself. If you give yourself a chance, you surprise yourself. And you get to build on such new things. Sometimes you just, you gain a new lesson from it. And then sometimes you gain, how do you call it, an incentive. So in my opinion, that's the best way to deal with being lost. Because what I've learned from being lost is to go back to the status quo is not possible. Because while you were in the status quo, that's where the feeling occurs. So if you intend to go back, then you're just going to replay it again. And in my opinion, I think you're just ignoring it. It's best to acknowledge the feeling of being lost. It makes it somewhat easier. It's never easy, to be honest. Being lost is not easy. But once you acknowledge it and you're like, yeah, something is wrong, something is off, yeah, something needs to change, and you actively do it, you implement the changes, you figure out what to do. Sometimes you don't need to know exactly your next step. Just knowing that something is off and you moving wherever that takes you. Please don't do drugs. That's the right step. And then you never know where you will come out. So just go for it. Yeah, talking about drugs. If you constantly feel a sense of emptiness, you try to feel it with something. And for some people that might be drugs, yes. For some people that might be porn, even. And for some it might be something as simple as eating food. And sometimes the addiction is not even apparent. You will not immediately see it unless you actually actively look for it, because the human brain is very interesting. Sometimes you don't realize things, but well, in the moment you never do, and then afterwards you just look back and be like, wait, that was me doing this. Why was I doing that in the first place? And then once you gain more understanding about how things work, you realize, I was doing this to myself because of this or that. We're quite unique, to be honest. But how does being lost look like? For most people, well, the extreme form of being lost is depression, being suicidal, also self-harm. Those are signs, like the extreme signs of being lost. But there are also like normal signs of being lost, like you just consume certain types of media. Doom scrolling, for example, is also a sign of being lost. There are lighter signs of being lost, but it's hard to pick out because those signs, it can just be you just enjoying life and you just being like that.
So, how can one distinguish between the lighter signs and just one enjoying life?
One way that I found out like I was lost in certain aspects, or like certain things need to change because I didn't like the way the status quo was once you do an activity, right? And if you've always been doing it, then you keep doing it, and doing it. And then there will come a point when you'll be like, why am I doing this? It might be just a brief moment. Do you guys know, like in Barbie, right? Live action, when they were dancing, and then Barbie like just had this random thought of like, what was it again? Have you guys ever thought of dying? And then everyone just paused. It's something like that. It's like you'll be in the moment of like doing something fun, something amazing, and then this random voice will come up and be like, but is this really the right thing? Or, oh no, I'm drunk again. Or, I don't feel it. Or, this is boring. Like, it's just those tiny moments. And then eventually they grow, obviously. But those tiny moments will pop up, and then you'll be like, what was that? Sometimes you literally catch yourself and be like, what was that? Like, why would I think that? I'm literally enjoying it. And then they'll keep coming up. In that case, please give it 1 second of your time. Well, give it an hour. And look at it and be like, what are you trying to tell me? I'm all ears. I'm all ears. Once you get to that point, know this, you cannot go back. Once you look at it and acknowledge its existence, you cannot go back. That's a blessing and a curse, I guess, because when you're going through it, it's a curse, because you'll be like, no, I want to go back to the days where everything was simple, where I didn't have to think, where I didn't know that this thing existed. And then once you're out of it, you're happy, you're dancing and all that, you be like, oh, it was a blessing, good thing that I did it. You know what I mean? It all depends on the current situation and your mindset. Yeah. So how does one fix it, being lost? Well, like I said, you have to recognize it, understand it, and then accept it. And then, depending on the source of it, the root of it, you change your behavior or you change your perspective on things, and then move forward. You again recognize it, understand it, accept it, change perspective or change of action, and sometimes even change of environment. If that's what needed, then do it, people. And then move forward. In order to recognize it, Regularly check in with yourself, ask yourself questions like, how am I doing today? This happened. How am I truly feeling? Do I need to leave the situation? If you need to do it, leave the situation, go out, and then sit down with yourself, touch grass, people, touch grass, and get in touch with yourself. That really helps. Also, having a community around you help, because sometimes you're not meant to do it alone, okay? There's certain things you're meant to do alone, yes. Certain things you have to start maybe alone, yes. But you're not meant to finish everything by yourself, honey. There are people out there, and most of the time they're ready to really reach out. But if we don't say it, they won't know. And the other thing to do, if you think you're losing it, just ask the universe or God, whatever you believe in, for help. People, that works like magic. I'm not gonna lie. You'll be like, you'll be like, oh, is this going on with me? Can you, like, is this really happening? Just wait for it. Give it maybe a day or two, or maybe a week or a month or whatever. The duration doesn't matter, but there will come a time when a situation will happen and you will recall you ask for a sign, and then you will see it, and that's your answer, people. That's your answer. Go, sit down, go, talk with the universe, talk with God, whoever you believe in, just do it. They help you. They are there for a reason. They will help you, believe me. So what are the beauties actually of being lost? Well, from my experience, I learned that once you get lost, well, for me, I didn't really acknowledge it until I reached the bottomless pit. And then I realized like there's no way. There is no other way but to just lie there and take it all in. So basically that's the beauty of it, because you're gonna be in a space that makes you question. It's gonna make you question who you are, what you stand for, and everything beyond that. So being lost actually helps you figure out who you are and where you are in a time and space. It really does. Because only by asking those questions you can resurface again, if you're doing it right. Please don't do drugs, people, because literally, don't do drugs or drink alcohol, because it might give you the satisfaction at the moment, and maybe you get out of it, but then you have another trouble waiting for you to fix again. So it's just best to avoid those type of addictions, so that you only have the one thing that is in front of you, and once you overcome that, you know that you can breathe properly, not like, oh shit, now I have to fight that addiction again. Let's avoid the constant fight, people. And the other beauty of being lost is actually you get to recreate yourself. And I think that's a marvelous chance, actually. It's a miracle, because you get to step out of who you are completely, and then you get to put yourself together like the building blocks, and you can decide who you want to be. It's not like based on what your parents are saying, what your society is saying, what your friends are saying, or other communities are saying, or what expectation is there. No, you decide, I want to be this. And while you're building and deciding, you realize your values, you figure out what works for you. And that's, in my opinion, is the most powerful thing. Well, one of the most powerful thing in this world. And you get to do it for you. Not for anyone else, but for you. And like, in the process of it it's not fun. But at the end of the day, you get to a point, and when you look yourself in the mirror, you're just happy that you did it. It's just I just can't explain it any other way. It's just You reach a certain point, you look at yourself and you're just proud of who you have become and what you have made out of your pain, out of your struggle. And that gives you, it boosts your it boosts your ego. That's why it also increases your confidence in yourself and your trust in yourself, and also the love in yourself. It does so much for you. So if you find yourself being lost, don't be afraid. Just push, keep pushing, ask for help, and you get there. You will get there. Believe me, people. Those are the two beauties that I saw in my experience of being lost, and I hope you can find it in yourself too, if you're currently in that stage. And if you're having difficulties finding it, please seek help. Talk to your parents if it's possible. Talk to friends if it's possible. Well, anyway, seek help if you need help. If you find it difficult to reach out to others, you can also do this. You can journal. Journal helps because you get to put your thoughts down. And in my case, I used to think oh, once it's down on the paper, I have space for something else. I can stop thinking about it. If that type of method works for you, take it, roll with it. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. But journaling is fine. It's really helpful. If you find it difficult to journal, then do videos. You don't have to post it. For example, when I was having stressful moments, because I was trying to define myself. I was trying to redefine myself again for I don't know, the 300th times. And I was having difficulty because some new information keeps popping up, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you existed. How do I handle you? Oh my god. So I started doing videos for myself. I would just put it on, and then I would just talk to myself. I would tell myself what I've been doing to keep track, but as well, I would just talk to myself about certain information, because there are certain things you just can't go up to people and be like, oh, let me tell you about this, because one, you don't know the emotional state of that person, and two, not everybody can handle what you can handle. That's also something, unfortunately. So it's best, but you need to get it out, because if you leave it in, something like this will happen. You have to get it out of your system because your body doesn't want it. So set up a camera, use your phone. Everybody has mobile phones. Record yourself, talk to yourself, explain stuff to yourself, and console yourself. That's very important. You don't just be okay, this thing that you did was blah 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 blah. No, you don't scold yourself like that. No, you talk to yourself like you would your best friend, depending on how you talk with your best friend, or with you would with your siblings. Just talk to yourself. Believe me, that works miracle. It really does. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please implement it in your life. And if you liked it, please like and subscribe. Yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah, please like and subscribe, and see you by the next one. Thank you.